What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the interweb? Today it's a Jack video and it's actually really cool. So this guy on Reddit, guy sent like 200 PSP beta games or prototype builds, and it had all the first party PSP games in there. And Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier was a first party game. But wait, hold your excitement. But where this gets interesting is he said some of these are dated like years before the game came out. So that means there could be a build where Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier was still known as Jak 4. You know, when Naughty Dog was still making it, they were calling it Jak 4. Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier was originally meant to be Jak 4, but then, you know, Uncharted came along and kind of ruined it. And I've even heard that The Last Frontier was called Jak 4 all the way up until the end of 2008. So if that's the case, then this game being called Jak 4 will likely be seen, but what I'm excited for is if it goes back far enough, like to when Naughty Dog was still making the game, and if their vision was different than the final product we ended up getting. I have no idea how old the Jak prototype is, but it's back far enough that it was still called Jak 4 then, and I think it's safe to say, if it ends up with enough attention, that could push Naughty Dog into wanting to make Jak 4, because let's face it, if Jak was announced today for a 2019 release, it would be Sony's highest selling game of all time because of the nostalgia effect. I mean, look at Metal Gear Solid 5. Hideo Kojima and Konami did everything they could to kill the series with that game. They changed how the game played. They changed the most important part of the game. David Hayter. That man is Metal Gear Solid more than Hideo Kojima and Konami are Metal Gear Solid combined. And they ruined the Metal Gear Online experience that became famous with Metal Gear Solid 3. But the game still sold well because of the nostalgia. And the same can be said of Fallout 76, Prey 2017, and Shenmue 3. Fallout 76 pre-orders were flying off the shelf when the game was just a tweet before we saw any gameplay at all. But the main audience of Fallout is between the ages of 17 to 23. We had Fallout 3 when we were babies. I was 11 years old when I got it for Christmas. So again, nostalgia. Prey 2017 is deemed one of the worst reboots of all time, but it sold well because it rode with the nostalgia of Prey 2006, which is deemed one of the best Xbox games of all time. And then there's Shenmue 3. It became the biggest crowdfunded game of all time in less than 6 hours, and now it's the second most anticipated game of 2019, right behind Resident Evil 2 Remake. So the nostalgia effect alone would sell Jak 4 like crazy. Then, since it's Naughty Dog and the following they've gathered, that would make it sell even better, since, you know, everybody knows Uncharted and The Last of Us is these great storytelling games, and since Neil Druckmann would be getting his ultimate dream coming true and going back to the Jak series, that means the effort and, you know, time he would put into the story of Jak 4 would be way beyond anything we've seen in Uncharted or The Last of Us. But of course, don't get too excited, because it could always end up just being a build from the final months of Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier's development. So we should keep our fingers crossed just in case it is an early build when it was still being made by Naughty Dog, or when High Impact Games first took it over and it was still being called Jak 4. And again, I heard it was still called Jak 4 up until 2008, but I'm not entirely sure on that. I haven't looked it up, so you can take that with a grain of salt or just dismiss it. That's up to you. But if this build is still old enough that it was still called Jak 4, that could be totally like game changing for Jak and Daxter the series, because that means if this is officially considered Jak 4, then everyone who circle jerked that The Lost Frontier was a bad game, they'll run out and buy The Lost Frontier just to finally have Jak 4. And then, of course, if that happens, you know the first thing I'm gonna do is make a Jak 4 confirmed video. That's the very first thing I'm gonna do. But, you know, we gotta wait it out and see what happens. Fingers crossed. Let's hope it ends up well. My name's CRUZANDO. Are you excited? Let me know in the comments down below. Try not to die. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you